Hey again, everyone. Good to see you here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, on a Monday night. Monday night football, Eagles and Seahawks. Who's catching that game right now? All right. I have been here, pretty much right here, since noon. Since noon Eastern time when I sat down with Pigskin Pete to go live for our college football coast-to-coast show over on his channel at noon. Recordings all afternoon, and I counted up for Tuesday, 11 records scheduled on Tuesday to provide content for you and get us set for the weekend here on Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We are looking for sponsors, so please, if you own a small business, give me a contact at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. Whatever you need to contact me about overall, whether that's you got a suggestion, you got a request, you got a recommendation, whatever it is, hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. I'm accessible. I'm right here. MarkRogersTV at Gmail. Easy to remember. But specifically for those people that own a small business or have contact with somebody who owns a small business who either is a national or international business online that could benefit from our audience, or if you are specific to an area and want to sponsor a team-specific show, let me know. And we also need sponsorships for the shows that we currently deliver: Nebraska, Ohio State, Florida State, and Miami, and this call-in show every night at 9 o'clock Eastern time. We need them all sponsored and hope that they continue. They depend on your contributions individually and the contributions of the sponsors to stay. So we don't want any of those to fall by the wayside. We would like to be here 6 months from now, still doing Ohio State, Florida State, Miami, Nebraska, and others, and our call-in show. But we need those individual contributions and also the sponsorships. So please let me know if you've got a lead on any of that. All right, let's talk college football here. I will get to your comments and questions and debate topics in the live chat. The Big Ten is in a situation in which its best team may not make the conference championship game. Its second, its third, maybe fourth best team lost its starting quarterback on Saturday and is going to a little-used transfer from Utah, who was a highly touted four-star coming out of high school, Jack Tuttle, but still is missing its rocket-armed left-handed quarterback, and then one of its best teams as well. Also hurt the conference's college football playoff chances by laying an egg in East Lansing over the weekend. So not good news for the Big Ten over the weekend. Its best team may not make the conference championship game, may not have enough games to qualify for the conference championship under their short-sighted rule system that they set up, may not have enough games to impress the college football playoff committee. We don't know because the committee is non-committal. The committee is non-committal to how many games a particular team needs to play. And I understand that. I don't have an issue with them saying we didn't set up any kind of guideline or rule. I'm sure they've got guidelines. They've got thoughts, each individual member, and I'm sure it's discussed many times about how many games need to be played by teams. But as soon as you set up a rule, and it's a rule, not a guideline, then you got to stick to it, and it may not necessarily make sense in every scenario. You could say, well, a team needs to play 7 games. Then you get this team that goes out and plays 6 games, wins them all, plays some of the best teams around, and beats them over the head by 4 touchdowns. And then you're like, okay, well, we got this 6-0 team, and they're clearly one of the best. Let's include them. We just got off the line with Will Gunter from 107.5 The Game, and he had a great suggestion, I thought. We've seen a number of bowl games thrown to the wayside. The Pinstripe Bowl, the New Era Pinstripe Bowl. Let's get the sponsorship in, of course, because New Era, you've lost your sponsorship with the Pinstripe Bowl New Era. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Okay, so the Pinstripe Bowl, sponsored by New Era, has decided to close its doors. It's the latest bowl game, the one out of Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, to say no go in 2020. So we've got 6 or 7 bowl games that won't be played. We have teams that will be going to bowl games. And so why not incorporate them into an expanded playoff? Because we have this odd scenario of so many different amounts of games and no non-conference games. And when I say no, I understand that there were some non-conference games against the likes of Liberty and Louisiana and the like. I understand there were a few non-conference games, but they mean very little, if anything. They didn't show us anything. None of the contenders played. None of the contenders for a college football playoff appearance played a non-conference game. So we didn't have a non-conference season to evaluate these teams or the conferences against each other. And we've got a situation in which we could be sitting here in, what's it going to be? It's going to be 3 weeks, correct? 3 weeks from tomorrow night. 3 weeks from last night. 3 weeks from last night. So Saturday will be the conference championship games in the Power 5 and across the board on that Friday and Saturday, December 18th and 19th. Then on Sunday will be the unveiling of the playoffs and the final rankings. And so in less than 3 weeks, we're going to know who's made the playoffs. But we sit here tonight with teams as good as Wisconsin, undefeated like Colorado and Washington, that have played 3 games. Who's played the most games in the country? I think there's a number of teams that have played 9 games. North Carolina 6-3, so they've played 9. Clemson might be 8-1, maybe 7-1. So anyway, 9 is at the high water mark, and then we've got teams that have played 3 games. And they will only be able to play a total of 6 at the most. So we're going to have a disparity between 12 games and 6 games. So again, we just recorded a segment with Will Gunter from 107.5 The Game in Columbia, South Carolina, to talk South Carolina football, but we also addressed the playoff situation, and he said 16 teams, come on. And then you include everybody who has any type of gripe, any type of argument or angle, whether it be the teams that are clear-cut, Alabama, depending on how it plays out, Notre Dame, Clemson, those types of teams. Then you've got Ohio State, kind of everybody believes they're one of the best. And, of course, they've been that team for a number of years. And going into the season, we expected them to be that team. And they probably are that team, but they've not had the games to play or the games against quality opponents to show us that they belong. They haven't earned it, but are they probably a team that belongs? Yes. And then we have all these scattershot teams in the group of 5 and then in the Pac-12. Colorado, we can disregard Colorado all we want, but they are 3-0. So they've gotten off to a 3-0 start. And maybe Washington and Colorado are playing a Pac-12 championship game in 3 weeks, and one of them finishes 6-0. And then we've got Cincinnati. And if Notre Dame sweeps Clemson in the ACC championship game, and Alabama, let's say, wins the SEC, and let's say Ohio State is able to play these 2 games and they win the Big Ten, and we've got a pretty clear 3. And then we've got Cincinnati. Unfortunately, their next game, after not being able to play against Temple, their next game is canceled as well. We'll have to look at Cincinnati's schedule to see how it plays out, because there are 2 more weekends of football, the weekend of the 5th and the weekend of the 12th before championship weekend. So Cincinnati has played 8 games. They're 8-0. They could play as many as 10 games. And then we've got the case of BYU. Any reasonable person who watches BYU football or knows anything about them, it is clear that, okay, on one hand, BYU is undefeated, and they are trampling just about everybody except the Texas-San Antonio game was close. They won 24-20, 27-20, 27-20. BYU also struggled against Houston. So a college football playoff participant should not be struggling against Texas, San Antonio, and Houston. At the same time, they're undefeated against an awful schedule. And it's hard for me to believe that a BYU program that pretty much since 1984, when they won a national championship, they were awarded a national championship. I don't know that anyone won a national championship back then. They were awarded the national championship. That BYU has ever seriously contended since then. I know that they've had good teams. They had a 14-1 season against a bad schedule about 15 years ago, close to 20 years ago, 2001, I believe. Something in that range, 2002. So it's hard to believe that BYU, that chugged along with 7 or 8 wins, a lot of 8 and 5s and 7 and 6s, that suddenly they're a 12-0 kind of team. Like if they had played the schedule that they originally were scheduled to play, that they would be sitting here at 9-0 right now. My thoughts. All right. We've got the phone lines open as always, 860-325-3687. The super chat is on. And certainly, again, sponsorships and individual contributions from you will be needed long term. We've got Roberto on board. Good to see you, Roberto. Is the committee going to look second half effort of Buckeye? I think Ohio State knows they can cruise through the Big Ten, especially this year, and they don't try hard in the second half. The committee is evaluating what they typically evaluate. Wins and losses, eyeball, test, conference championships, bad losses. A bad loss is pretty much going to knock anybody out, except did Texas A&M have a bad loss against Alabama? In terms of score, yes. In terms of the team they lost to, no. It was not a Purdue loss, an Iowa loss, nothing like that. A Syracuse loss, which didn't hurt Clemson. That didn't hurt Clemson in 2018 or 2017. They lost to a 4-8 Syracuse team. Anyway. Roberto, I don't think the defense will get lit up for 500-plus yards again in the air since it was mostly missed assignments and misalignments, something coaching and schemes can fix. I think 350 yards max versus playoff opponent. Marcus Coleman, go Fighting Tigers. Bo on board with Clemson as well. We're talking Clemson with Jason Priester of SI tomorrow, so be looking out for that segment to come out here in the next few days. We talked some South Carolina football today, Nebraska, Michigan, a lot of Michigan football talk today. You'll be able to see those segments coming out. One already released. I went on a rant last night. Hopefully you got to check that out concerning the Big Ten championship scenario involving Ohio State. Hello, is this thing on? Hello? Good to see David. Good to see, it's just me, Tim79, John Sarian. A lot going on in college football this week outside of the games. Stelios, the show right here. It's here. Slapping TV. Good to see you. Miami fan. Please go over and subscribe to all our other channels that we've got available. So here's the deal with the other channels. We've got Miami, Ohio State, Michigan, Nebraska, Notre Dame, the SEC channel. We've got Texas, USC, and Oregon, Clemson. So basically, full disclosure here, if you go over and subscribe to those channels right now, what you're going to see is basically repurposed content from here. So you're going to see it packaged in a way that you can take it down as a, let's say, Clemson fan without having to weed through everything else. So you go over to Clemson the Clemson channel, the Voice of College Football Clemson. Subscribe to that channel. You get all the Clemson footage that we provide here, over there. But on top of that, as soon as these channels monetize, and we're in the process of that right now, is that we are bringing on other podcasters. And what they're going to do is they're going to provide us more content. And so there's going to be unique content to those channels. And we will jump on there as well. I will do live streams and provide other content where I respond to the comment section. So much like the Miami channel that has some overlap in content, but we also have unique content that is strictly for the Miami channel. We'll be doing that with all the channels. So sign up, sign up, sign up. Jabari Jones, Kennesaw State or Georgia State. Hopefully that's not for me. John, are the Buckeyes screwed for the season? I don't believe quite yet, but they could be. They could be. They decided not to play last weekend. They're going to say, as they did, and every other program says the same thing, is that what is in their minds, what is in their thought process, and the decision-making process is first and foremost the health of the student athletes. I hope that's the case. I cannot argue that that's not the case, but also involved in the decision for Ohio State in particular last weekend was, okay, the Big Ten says we can play. So we could go ahead and play, knowing all that we know about the issues that we have in the positive tests. We could go ahead and play right now, get another game in that we've got about a 99.9% chance of winning, and we get our sixth game in, or our fifth game in. But based on what we know about the testing and the situation and how many players it involves, are we really putting ourselves in a bad position for the next week and the next week? Because we could push over the limit, then we're out for multiple weeks. Or do we shut things down, get healthy, get through the testing process, get ready for Michigan State, Michigan? That's the decision they made. Lucas Abner, George is on the line. And Lucas points out that former Oklahoma, Alabama quarterback Jalen Hurts playing on Monday Night Football. Is he playing? Meaning for Carson Wentz? When I shut the game off, Carson Wentz was still on the field. I don't know how much he was really playing. He wasn't able to drop back and actually look downfield much. He had no chance. Most of his dropbacks. I enjoy watching the NFL for a lot of reasons, but also because we do this, and I'm a huge college football guy. Of course, seeing all the college football players. So Derek Barnett had 2 fourth down stands early in that game. Seattle went for it twice on fourth down, and Derek Barnett was the man and blew up 2 plays on fourth down. And Derek Barnett, of course, a star at, does anyone know? Without looking it up, Derek Barnett. Good to see Marcus Cameron. Michael, good to see you as well. And we got our call coming in. Dominic, good to see you as well.
Press 1 to start the call or 2 to the call will start.
All right, everyone. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Mark Rogers, the voice of college football. This is Dave Greenshield. How you doing, sir?
Hey there, Dave. I'm good. How are you?
Hey, I'm hanging in there. I was just I just tuned into the show. I was just wondering, with your vast knowledge and resources, if you've heard anything more about the Buckeye situation as far as COVID goes.
I have not. I wouldn't say I've got vast resources. I've been talking about every other team but Ohio State today in recording all day. So I've not had any chance to do anything but sit here and record all day.
Well, with you being the voice of college football, I just figured you were dialed in and have all the connections, Mark. Sorry.
No, that would not be me. That would not be me. I'm not a news hound of sorts. I've said from the start. So Navy Thomas will call in from time to time and really give me all sorts of props for breaking stories and so forth. Well, that's not me. I would be a fool. I would be idiotic to try to match news agencies that have like 100 people working for them to try to break stories. We do the analysis here. Don't care to break any stories, but if one comes my way, certainly I will. But especially in this day and age, nobody remembers who broke the story anymore, because as soon as it's out, everybody else has it in about 25 seconds.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, within 10 seconds, whatever everybody seems to know. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, I think that, by and large, they probably won't know something until later in the week in any case.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to wait and see. It's just going to be a shame. The whole Big Ten situation, I know I'm harping on it, but it just gets more and more frustrating, Mark, from everything, from the way they handled the season to the 21 days, and not letting parents, sit in the stands at games. And again, I want to preface my remarks on what I said on Saturday, and I'm glad you kind of had my back on this one, Mark. I was not trying to, kind of condemn and say that Notre Dame wasn't called out when they rushed the field at the end of the Clemson game. I was just saying it's interesting the way these other stadiums, particularly in the South, have handled their fan and their crowd situations compared to the Big Ten. And, I know every state is different, but it's just amazing to me how you see a differential between 25,000 fans and you can't allow parents in.
Yeah.
You figure you can meet a happy medium somewhere in between. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought your comment was extremely fair, observant of the situation and the disparity in the way these crowd situations are being handled across the nation. And yeah, that's where I stood on that. Absolutely.
I appreciate that, Mark. I wanted to get to the situation in the Vanderbilt game and ask you something.
Yep.
With the female kicker.
Sure.
What if was she not allowed to be tackled? Is that what they're saying?
Oh, I didn't hear that part of it. Certainly that went through my mind.
I mean, what happens in that situation? I mean, she's kicking the football off.
Yep.
If she kicks it down the field, the kick returner breaks through.
Yep.
I mean, what are we looking at there? Is she? Are they good with her trying to make tackles?
So let me ask you this, Dave. Are you saying that because you just thought of that, or are you saying that because you read that somewhere that it was actually stated that this was addressed?
No, I did not read that.
Okay.
I just thought about it.
I thought about it too.
We've seen kickers on kickoffs. When the returner breaks through, Mark, have to make touchdown saving tackles. That's not that unusual. That's happened a lot.
Absolutely.
So for me to ask the question is reasonable.
Yeah. So my thought about this is, and I may say some things that aren't necessarily popular, but I'll try to do it in a kind and gentle way. My thought about that is that I think that anyone, just like in any other line of work, as long as you are qualified to do the job, that I don't want to discriminate against anyone in making a football team at that level or any competitive level. But you got to meet the criteria of that position. So yes, as you stated, even though that is not the main job responsibility or function of the kicker is to make tackles, they do it on a fairly routine basis. So that was my first thought too, was, okay, what is expected of her if the kickoff returner, the punt returner, is able to bring back the ball to a point in which the kicker could be in play to make a tackle. And that might not be a pretty scene. I don't know. The other part of it that came to mind was, so I only saw one kick. Maybe I missed some other. She only made one kick, correct?
Right. It was just the one kickoff, and it was kind of squipped on the ground.
Yes.
And I think the guy towards the sideline just got down on the ball and it was tapped down, and that was it.
So we've all seen situations in which, okay, we know what a reasonable expectation of a college kicker is as either a kickoff specialist or the field goal kicker or the punter. We know what a good kicker can do, a decent kicker that should be starting. So I wasn't holding her to that standard because they're in a situation in which they lost their scholarship kickers and they kind of held tryouts, or they just knew that she is a really good soccer player, apparently, and therefore reached out to her. I think they contacted her. I don't necessarily know that they had tryouts, but this happens from time to time. You'll hear this. I know Nebraska had to go that route last year and go to the soccer team and have tryouts, and they got desperate for kicking. So this happens from time to time. So as long as she's capable, and it's not one of those deals where, well, we got 3 or 4 other individuals who are more capable, but she's a little less capable, but we want to make history, or we want to make a mark. We want to make a statement. And so she executed the one kickoff. I don't know what was told to her about, this is what we want, but yeah, she executed the kickoff in that manner. And by all criteria of any of us as college football observers, kicking the ball down to the 35-yard line is not effective.
Right. Yeah.
It's not effective, but at the same time, again, she should not be held to the standards of her being the starting kicker or the first choice for a Power 5 football team as their kicker on kickoffs.
Right. Yeah. Again, Mark, my question is if the returner busts through the line and she has to make a tackle and he runs her over and she hurts her shoulder, where are we at that point? And that's not, outside of the realm of possibility. In fact, I think that's a realistic possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Am I whistling past the graveyard here, or does that sound reasonable?
Oh, I think it sounds reasonable, and I don't know what Vanderbilt's situation is coming into this week's game, whether she is needed and will be kicking. I haven't heard anything more about it. But
it was just interesting. It's just interesting. It's just a thought, and the first thing that came to mind. By the way, do you think that isn't it interesting? Mason gets fired the day after that. I don't think. I know one didn't have to do with the other. I think his record pretty much cost him the job, right?
I thought he should have been fired a couple of years ago, and that's a difficult place to evaluate performance.
Sure.
In that league, with all the hurdles and challenges that they face there, both academically and in comparison of resources and money to everybody else. So and I'm not even necessarily holding him to the standard of James Franklin going 9-4 his last 2 years. But I got to think at Vanderbilt that he should be able to qualify for a bowl game most of the time, and they've just been bludgeoned and looked awful for pretty much his whole stay.
Right. You think 7-5 is kind of reasonable, and possibly 8-4. I would think that would kind of be a ceiling there, especially in the toughest conference in America. I think that that's realistic. Hey, our old buddy Tom Herman, are you thinking he's on borrowed time now, or do you think he makes it through this season if you had to say, if you had to take a venture one way or another?
They can't win the Big 12. They're 5-3. I think he will make it through the season. I would not be surprised at all if he didn't. I think it's maybe 60-40, 70-30.
Okay. That he's gone?
That he's gone. 70-30 that he stays. Yeah.
Okay. You know what? Oh, 70-30 that he stays. You're betting that he stays for another year. They give him like that ultimatum kind of year mark in 2021.
That's my guess, but I've got no more of a guess than anybody else does.
Okay, that's interesting. You know what I find interesting, Mark, and I know you follow recruiting a little bit. You probably heard this from the Buckeye guys on your chat. The Buckeyes have been getting more and more talent out of the state of Texas.
Yeah,
they just got the number one quarterback, that Quinn Ewers, for the 2022 class. And if you've got the number one quarterback in Texas, and you're Texas, and you can't keep him in state, that's a pretty bad sign. I mean, that's a battle. You know, it's interesting because, you know, I remember when Mac Brown was there, we weren't going down there and getting a lot of those Texas guys at that time. Of course, that was Texas at their peak. So, you know, that's obviously a different time frame. So probably kind of tough to hold them up to that standard, you know, as far as that goes. What'd you say?
Well, Mac Brown did a tremendous job there, but he only won a few conference championships for the entire time that he was there. I don't think that what he accomplished there is anything legendary. Anytime you win a national championship, you put yourself in a certain category. But beyond that, let's see, he was at Texas from, what were the years? Like 2000? 98? Was that the first year?
Yeah, he coached Ricky Williams. The year Ricky Williams won the Heisman.
That's awful that I botched that, because as soon as that came out of my mouth and you said 98, yeah, because I covered the SEC and primarily Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Alabama, and I was actually at the Cotton Bowl when Ricky Williams played Mississippi State. I was actually there, so I should remember that. So yeah, he was there in '98. That was his first year, and so then he was there through, I think, 2013 and into whatever it was, 2013, I believe.
Yes, it was. Yep.
Yeah, 2013. So 16 seasons.
Right.
One national championship appearance without the win. So 2 national championship games, 1 win. I'm going to guess that he only won the Big 12 like 4 times.
That's about right. I mean, he played in 4 major bowl games. I mean, his best run was from 04 to 09, when he won a Rose Bowl. He beat us to that Fiesta Bowl, and then he played in 2 national championship games. So, but you'd have to say, you know, if you ever want to do the by comparison, he certainly was better than the John Mackovic era.
Oh, absolutely.
And you'd have to, you might say he's the greatest coach since Darrell Royal that they had.
Yes. Fred Akers had a nice run, but he didn't win a national championship, or he came within a muffed punt return of winning a national championship in 1983. But anyway, yeah, he did. You would have to say Mac Brown with a nod over Fred Akers since Darrell Royal, and that's taking us back to 1976. So I'm not discounting Mac Brown's run at Texas. I'm just saying I don't think it's a Urban Meyer, Bear Bryant, Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney standard at that school. Like, it's just, you know, he didn't win 91% of his games. He won at Texas 76% of his games.
Right. It wasn't even quite a Jim Tressel run. It was not
even that. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
But it was very, you know, I don't even want to say solid. It was better than solid. It was a very respectable, successful run. Yes. He finished in the top 10, and whomever's calling, we'll get to your call in just a second. So he finished in the top 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in 16 seasons.
Right. Yeah. It played for 2 national titles, probably finished in the top 5 like 4 or 5 times, and then played for 2 national titles and won 1. Which, you know, I mean, some of these programs I think get a little bit spoiled. I mean, as an Ohio State fan, it took 34 years to win a national title. So, I mean, to say that, you know, that it's very tough for them to come around, you know, every so often, though, to be honest with you. So, I mean, but definitely worthy of being in the College Football Hall of Fame. But I would agree. I wouldn't put him in the upper echelon of like all time. I would agree with you on that, Mark. All right, Mark. I know you got to get the other calls. You have yourself a good night.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
Yeah, Mac Brown made his way from North Carolina to Texas in 98. Yeah.
Press 1 to start the call or 2 to decline. The call will start at the beep.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
What's up, Mark? Hurricane Logan. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing well. What's going on, man?
What's up? How you doing?
I'm
How
good.
are you feeling tonight?
How am I feeling? I feel good. I feel good.
How do you feel about the college football playoffs? Do you think it's pretty accurate, pretty fair?
What, the rankings?
Yeah. I've seen your rankings, and I always agree with yours. The real college football rankings, but
Well, they're giving Ohio State way too much credit.
You really feel that way too. That's surprising, honestly, because I know you're an OSU fan, but I think Ohio State is honestly a top 4 team. But I just think it's really unfortunate that they haven't played enough games to prove that. But I still think they are.
Oh, I think they are too. So I'm trying to. So first off, the one thing that you pointed out there for everybody out there, yeah, I'm not kidding when I state all the time that I do my very best. It's impossible to be completely objective and unbiased. That's impossible. But I do my best. I am doing my very, very best to be as objective as possible. So I have gone on here when Ohio State was selected for the 2016 playoff and said they shouldn't have been selected. It should have been Penn State. I've come on here many times and I have consistently, I won't say consistently, but many times ranked Ohio State much lower than everyone else. So there's a difference for me, Hurricane Logan, between how good I believe Ohio State is and how talented versus what I think they've done to prove something. I just think in 4 weeks, in 4 games, and they've only played one decent team, that they haven't earned a number 4 ranking. Are they one of the 4 best teams? I think they are. But to me,
I probably think they are. I feel like Ohio State offense could probably score on any defense.
yeah,
The offense is stellar, but the secondary is definitely different this year than what we're used to seeing from the Ohio State defense. If that makes sense.
oh, absolutely makes sense.
But you already know me, Hurricane Logan, Hurricane fan. Disappointed. I'm disappointed that we, drew into the, I don't know what you want to call it with the COVID nonsense. It's a mess. But I'm disappointed that, unlike most Power 5 teams, Miami is going to sit here and go against Duke. I know Duke beat us last year, don't get me wrong, but when you look at what we changed this year on offense, we really, Duke and Miami shouldn't really be a conversation. And it's disappointing that it came to this point. I'm honestly glad we're playing a game. I'll say that much. But I just, man, I can't really grab what caused this to happen. It's kind of disappointing. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Hopefully that makes sense. But
Well, you were only going to play
on Miami's level.
You were only going to play Georgia Tech and Wake Forest the last 2 weeks anyway.
Yeah, and I was hoping we could have changed it up, and it was probably a big reach to sit there and ask for like a BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, really good teams.
That would be
ranked.
phenomenal.
They're doing great this year.
Absolutely. That would be tremendous. The Pac-12 is the only conference, Hurricane Logan, that has said we are looking for non-conference opponents. If we can't match up 2 conference teams, then we will get out there and we will schedule a non-conference game. So Colorado played San Diego State. That wasn't scheduled, but they found each other. They both had open dates because of COVID, and they played. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be phenomenal. Would love to see Miami and BYU play. or Cincinnati.
And honestly, it'd be a good thing because when you have logical minded fans like myself, which I honestly think I am, we've talked a couple times, and I don't think you disagree. If you do, let me know. But I mean, any logical Miami fan with the whole COVID stuff going on and all the nonsense that just is what it is with preparation, some Miami fans are worried about the Duke game. They're worried about Duke, and they're just hey man, we don't know if we got the depth, the preparation, COVID. It's like, come on, man, it's Duke. We lost last year. Like this should be this game should really be based on style points for Miami. It should be based on style points. It's a simple game. You come in there, you're disciplined, you play well, and you win the game. I don't care how you win it, but you win it, and you win it convincingly to where no one's sitting there asking questions about if Miami is competing with Duke. Period. Because that happened last year, and last year Duke may have beat us, but Duke is not a better football team than us this year. They're really not. And, I mean, I guess it speaks for itself that we're sitting here in 2020 and we're still asking questions about Duke football playing Miami Hurricane football. That's just nonsense to me, bro.
Well, I will say this, Hurricane Logan, to clarify my thought process on this, from an entertainment standpoint and from just a football standpoint of wanting to get the better teams together to see who truly is better, the two matchups that you just brought up would get me excited. And you just brought up two teams. You brought up one team in Miami that was looking for a game, and then two outside of conference teams that are looking for games, that need games. But the issue is that in all practicality, the ACC, just like any other conference, prefers that their conference teams play each other. So Duke is also missing a game.
They made the call at the end of the day. The ACC made the call for Miami to play Duke. It wasn't a Miami thing. I think that's one thing fans don't understand is Miami didn't sit there and decide to play Duke. The ACC did.
And the ACC should make that decision.
Exactly.
I don't think teams should be running around just scheduling whomever they want. And since all these conferences are missing games because of cancellations, I think the ACC, I hope you understand where I'm going with this. I believe that the ACC made the right decision. I think that the conference games should take precedence. They're making up conference games is what they're trying to do.
Well, I agree with you because, we'll settle that. I do agree with you. Yes, I feel like this was the right call, especially when you look at last year, because most people, it's really confusing with Miami fans because they'll sit there and say, well, Duke is Duke this year, but then you can sit there and look at last year and be like, hey, you guys lost to Duke. And now you say, oh, well, now you guys are playing them this year, and they put all these variables in, well, we're a better team. Well, now we have to come out and be that better team. And this is a game of, I truly believe this is a game of style points. Honestly, we have to come out and just play disciplined, good football. And we should easily beat Duke by probably maybe 2 scores,
Sure.
It should be a comfortable win that just, it's not one of those games where you're sitting there watching and you're saying, this might be it should just be an easy game to where we should win and we should dominate the trenches.
I thought you were going to say more than 2 scores.
No, I mean, that's kind of nonsense. I really want to, but it's just, in reality, we're almost there. I really, really believe we're almost there. We have an amazing class coming in. I don't know if you've seen on Twitter with the decommitment to T2 decommitting from Tennessee.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It doesn't mean he's coming to Miami. Hopefully Miami fans understand that because, we all know apparently Mark Rogers hates Miami. He hates Miami, even though he gives us more credit than probably our logical fan base does. But, we have a good thing. We have a good thing coming here in Miami. If we can hold the staff and pay the right guys who are doing the right thing, we got a good thing coming here. We just got to do the right thing, and we got to play good football, man. We can't sit here and come out and look crappy and sloppy against Duke, man. I know that, COVID is COVID, and, you get restricted to practices and players, but we just got to do the right thing, play football, Mark.
Hurricane, I just looked it
And I
up.
want to come on here and call in and say thank you. You always show Miami a lot more love than probably most Miami YouTubers do. And it's highly underrated. Highly underrated.
Well, I want to thank
you, sir.
I want to thank yourself, Hurricane. If I can keep you on the line for just like 20 seconds, because you're part of this. I want to thank you and a number of other Miami fans collectively, but I could go down a list, but I don't want to miss somebody. So I could go down a list of probably 10 to 15 to 20 people in particular, that I'm in a situation right now where this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing as a profession. And so I've got to start making some money and got to ramp up fast. And the one group of fans that have consistently, even though a lot of them criticize and throw trash at me, that's fine. That's part of it. It's fun. Consistently support me in terms of watching the video, showing up for the live stream, smashing the like button, all that, but also financially are the Miami fans. It's amazing that I'll get on Florida State live streams in particular and other live streams, and I'll have Miami fans like donating to Florida State live streams more than Florida State fans. By far, it's not even close. And I'll be like, these people the Miami fan base has supported me. And that has not just been showing up to talk Miami football and just watch and comment. That's been, when the rubber meets the road, financially supporting me, unlike any other fan base. It's not even close. And you're included in that. So thank you.
Right, yeah. And I'd even say, I don't want to sit there and laugh at Florida State because they're down. What's going on in that program? I don't really know too much. None of us really know the true ins and outs. But it's a bummer, man. And I don't want to look like an ass, but just Florida State, I hope they turn things around. And Mark Novell, I don't think he's really been given a fair shot with what he was given with Jimbo Fisher, and even going into what's that guy's name, Willie Taggart. I think Mike Norvell needs a chance, man. It's really, really, really difficult to change that culture and that locker room. It's tough, really, really, really tough. So, that's awesome that the Hurricane fans show you love. They do it for a good reason too, Mark. You got it going, man. You speak the truth, and there's a couple of us out there that are Miami Hurricane fans that appreciate what you do. We love it.
Thanks, Hurricane. Appreciate it, man. You have a great night.
You too, man. Press 1 to start the call or 2 to decline.
All right.
The call will
Just
start.
got to the next call. And like I've said to many of you, and those of you who have been watching me for a long time, we'll do better on the phone system. We need to really spend some time and work on that. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Mark, Clemson should line up. Cincinnati and BYU.
Well,
Let's have it out.
Cincinnati, BYU. You want those two against each other this week?
No, let Clemson play them since we can't play Florida State.
Oh, okay.
BYU said they'll go any place, anywhere.
They did.
Play anybody. Let's go ahead and get it started.
Well,
They never played before, to my knowledge, so let's go ahead and make that arrangement.
well, I got to say, DeAndre, I would think that for as long as you've been around talking up Clemson football in the ACC, that you would have some major pull to be able to put that together.
Yeah, I wish I could, but I would like to see it.
Oh,
I would like to see it.
it reminds me of a video that video idea that hit me the other day. I thought that I should be, with all these COVID cancellations, what I need to be doing is showing people, okay, these are the games, these are the teams that we need to match up. So-and-so opted out of this game, but it still leaves Clemson available, so we can match them up against. Why don't we get some of these games played? That would be phenomenal.
Right. Yeah, Mark, I hope. I guess sometimes I get sensitive about not getting a chance to come on your show. But I wish a lot of times people realize what great work you put out. I mean, you and Young and I can't remember the other guy's name. He's a little bit different from you and Young, but he does more play breakdown. I can't remember the name off my head, but y'all three are probably the best YouTubers that I've seen. Because I can remember when Bobby Durkin first showed on your show, and people were like, "Who's this Gorman Powell?" I'm like, "Yo, man, give Bobby a chance." I was watching the show, and I remember, now you see him on the ACC network. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of Bobby being up there.
I did not see that. No.
Football was
Wait, our guy Bobby Durkin showed up on the ACC network?
Yeah, it's a little small clip.
That's funny.
Clip.
Well, what's funny,
Yeah.
I'll share a story real quick, and I appreciate those comments, and we'll get to something else here in just a second. But that reminds me that somebody sent me a clip. This was about a year ago that on the Paul Feinbaum show on ESPN, somebody called him and said, "Paul, I'm sure you know who Mark Rogers TV is. He said blah, blah, blah about LSU and Florida, blah, blah, blah." So this dude drops my name on the Paul Feinbaum show, and Paul Feinbaum just kind of looks like, "Who are you talking about?" It was kind of amusing. Somebody sent me that clip. It was kind of funny.
But you know what? Don't worry. And I know it's hard because anybody get a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
But people just don't appreciate what Murph, that's the other guy. They don't appreciate the work that y'all do. They don't really understand, especially. And I've been trying. My cousins are trying to help me improve my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Because they work with software, and just the work that y'all put out there, man, it's just amazing. I wish more people would donate because let's just be honest about it. ESPN going to put SEC and Big Ten. Big Ten because of the population, and SEC because that's where the best football played out. Really, they should push the whole South because the whole South is where the best football is played. I'm just being honest. And then when Southern Cal is good, they're going to push Southern Cal. So that's who they're going to push. But man, I just really, really think that people should, really look at you. Because I share your videos and like them all the time, and I donate every time I'm up here. One thing I want to get to before I get too much on the tangent of how great you are, Oregon State, are you shocked about that game?
Well, DeAndre, don't let me get off track because there is something I want to tell you at the end of this conversation, but we'll stick to the football. Oregon State. Did it shock me? I guess I'm past being shocked by anything, but I did take the points in that game. I did think it was going to be close, but I watched about 3 quarters, and Oregon was clearly the better team. They were outplaying them. They were up by 2 scores. So I don't know what the heck happened. I never went back and watched the craziness that happened in the 4th quarter. I'm a little bit surprised. But Oregon, I thought there was an interesting stat, and you'll appreciate this since you know how important the offensive line is, that Oregon had the most experienced offensive line in the nation last year. Some crazy number of starts.
Returned that one guy.
Penei Sewell. Yeah. But this year they have the least experienced offensive line because all those guys moved on to the NFL, and they only had 1 start. Their offensive line returning only had 1 game started coming into this year. And then obviously a quarterback who, even though he's played really well in Tyler Shooks, he's replacing, we're seeing what Justin Herbert's doing in the NFL. He's having a great season. Right. I don't know if you've seen much of his play. He's surprising me. I was never that impressed with him in college. I knew he was good, but I didn't think he was great. But he's really good in the NFL.
Right. Yeah, because he was over that Auburn game. He just outthrew all his receivers. So, Herbert was shocking how good he's turned out to be in the NFL at this time. But I was shocked at the score because Oregon has recruited really well, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think they had the #1 defensive end.
They had a number 1 linebacker
Yeah.
last year. They had number 3 DB. So I'm kind of shocked how he hasn't really. They haven't really played well. That makes sense. I'm kind of shocked about that. That the defense is giving up a lot of points. It seems like. Something to Oregon, this is Oregon State, who, let's be honest, they really haven't showed us nothing over the last 5 or 10 years. And you would think that would have been an easy win for Oregon. I can't tell you the last time Oregon State beat Oregon. I said probably 06 maybe. Somewhere around there.
So they snuck in a win a few years ago, but besides that, yeah, it's been a long time.
Okay.
People might be surprised, though, and I know you know this, that Oregon State between about 1999 or 2000 and 09, when Mike Riley was there, all those years, they were going pretty much 9-4, 8-5 every year, and then they had the amazing 2000 season where they almost won the national championship, actually.
Right.
But they only lost one game by 3 points, and they finished number 3 and just completely rolled Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl. But if you look at all those seasons for about 10 or 11 years, they were winning 8 and 9 every year.
Right. Yeah, because I think it was Southern Cal they beat one year, or Southern Cal was really, really good. I don't know Reggie Bush and all.
06.
No guys there, but
I believe that was 06.
Right.
Yeah, on like a Thursday night. I think it was like a Thursday night game up in Corvallis. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I know it's hard for them to get people to come up there, but I mean, they just that just shocked me because how good Oregon's been and the style of play that Oregon plays, that Oregon State was able to beat them. Because Oregon State is known to put up some points. But I just thought that Oregon, I can't take nobody, Oregon State, that be looked at the NFL at the time. And I can tell you about 5 people on defense that the NFL probably love at Oregon and they playing. So I was kind of shocked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's impressive. Jonathan Smith, not only is he a good coach, he's just a great fit. Obviously, that's his alma mater. And we were talking a lot of Oregon football with a guy that we bring on, Ryan Winter, and he basically says that, his family's from there, he's from there, he loves it there. Unless he gets blown away and he wants to leave for the money and a chance to win bigger, he'll probably just stay there, which is great news for them.
Well, Clemson is a perfect example of this. Right now, it really doesn't matter where you're at. Everybody gets on TV.
Exactly.
I mean, I think I mean, it was hard to understand UCLA and Southern Cal struggling. Even you got to ask yourself why Arizona State struggling, because I think Phoenix is one of the largest cities in the country right now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're a lot more prettier than Oregon State, as far as where would you want to play as a kid. There's no excuse for some of these programs not winning. Unless you're like Vanderbilt, or even Vanderbilt can't make the excuse, because Stanford and Duke is winning, and Wake Forest is winning on a consistent basis.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about how much you care about putting the quality squad out there.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
But okay, Mark, I was checking in with you.
Well, DeAndre, let me say this. So you said some very nice things, and I'll let everybody know out there that DeAndre's got a YouTube channel. Now, where do people find this? It's BGPO Football Funk, right?
Right.
Okay, so everybody, BGPO, that stands for Black and Gold. He's a big Steelers fan. Black and Gold, Purple and Orange, Clemson. So BGPO Football Funk. Go check out DeAndre. Loves football, loves the NFL, loves college football, has a wealth of knowledge, calls me all the time, says a ton of things that it makes it obvious. We go back into the archives, into the 80s and 90s, and talk up college football. So he's well-versed, loves it. And DeAndre, what time is the Clemson game on Saturday?
They're having announced it yet.
Oh, they haven't announced
I
it.
didn't see it.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see it. They said they're going to release it tomorrow, I believe. But don't forget about East Carolina. I can't deny my alma mater.
Okay.
That
That's
purple
true.
and orange gold is in there too. For them, too.
Oh, okay,
I love it.
okay. All right, very good. I got you.
Yeah.
I
And
got you.
also, I love my HBCU football too. Historically black college football.
Yeah.
You love it. I love it too. I mean, I know a lot of people don't talk about it, but most of the NFL players, especially the great ones, came
Sure.
from historically black colleges like
Sure.
Jerry Rice and Emmett Smith,
Absolutely.
Little.
Mean Joe Green,
Yeah, so,
Mel Blunt, Everson
Uh,
Walls. Sure. Absolutely.
Liz Swan.
Doug
Hey, a lot of
Williams. Yep. So,
But you have a great night, Mark.
so,
I'll watch the show.
I appreciate it, DeAndre. So let me know when the game time is, because what I was going to say was I'm on here every Saturday night late, and also typically come on right after the noon Eastern time window. So if you want to check in, then I will shoot you a link so you can come on the show.
Okay. Hopefully, let me see.
All right, let me know.
I didn't see it announced yet. Yeah. Let's see. Virginia Tech. Yeah. Limited attendance. I know. I was 7:30 p.m.
Okay. We're going to do a show
Yep.
about 11 o'clock if you've got a chance, and I'll send you a link. But hit me up on Twitter on a DM, because otherwise I'll forget.
All right.
All right, DeAndre. Appreciate the call, man.
All right, bye.
Have a good night.
Bye.
All right. Chuck C. Man, Chuck C., this is phenomenal, because Chuck sent me a super chat last week, I think it was. And I missed it because I've explained this in the past. I run this through StreamYard so I can post. As soon as I saw StreamYard's ability to post the comments to the screen, I thought, okay, this is great. This is what I want. But the only issue in it is that once I get to a certain place in the live chat, I can't go back and retrieve previous comments. So Chuck had sent me a super chat, and I didn't know that he sent it to me because I couldn't go back. I saw it pop up in a tiny little window, but I couldn't read it, and so I couldn't go back. So then at the end of the show, I knew I had acknowledged a few super chats, but I missed one, and I went back, Chuck, and I looked on the feed, and I saw, oh, Chuck sent me a question and a super chat, but I didn't know. So I appreciate you, Chuck, hanging with us there. And as soon as I get done with this call, we will acknowledge your question. And I'm sorry I missed your question from the other night, but thank you so much for that super chat. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Mr. Mark Rogers, this is Ballard Sports Media. How you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, Ballard. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. And I know you did your all your instant analysis videos the other day. I believe I did see one for the Iron Bowl, and I wanted to talk to you about that. But real quick,
Okay.
how about Vandy? Now, she didn't look great, but I think this could be a turning point with Sarah Fuller at Vanderbilt. This whole female kicker thing, this could be a really huge turning point for college football. You know, maybe getting more women involved in everything. And I'm not trying to get political or anything with
No,
it
you're
like
fine.
that. I mean, it
Yep.
would be really great. It would be really great to, you know, see it be more, you know, kind of, you know, mixed or whatever a little bit, you know, with both boys and girls in college football. I think that'd be really great.
So here's my
Could we
thought.
possibly see that moving forward?
So here's my thought with that. As long as the responsibility or the job role is not being compromised. So if a female kicker, let's say on extra points and field goals, can be just as effective and wins and legitimately wins the starting job as the field goal kicker, extra point kicker for a college football team, that's awesome. That's great. As long as that individual is the best person. And I'm not
Right.
I'm singling out kicking other aside from the other positions because of the obvious. There's the absence of the physical nature of the position. There's not the physicality, and maybe I'll offend some feminists out there, but there's an obvious difference between males and females when it comes to physical prowess. Not every male in the world and every female, but 99.9999999% of them. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So on a field goal or extra point, we don't have that issue. They kick it, they either miss it or make it, it's over. The play's over. But on the punts and kickoffs, they are sometimes needed as a last line of defense to knock somebody out of bounds, make a tackle. That would be my only concern. But I am fully with you on that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like you were saying, with all due respect to really anybody out there, I mean, you need, offensive linemen, quarterbacks, you notice that they're all built kind of similar. You're going to have a 6 foot or 5 foot 11 or whatever the heck quarterback that probably can weigh around, 100 something to 200 pounds or whatever. Offensive linemen are up there in the 300s or something. Certain positions, guys are built in a certain way and everything. And like you were saying, just like in general, and like you were saying, you weren't trying to offend anybody, and I'm not either. Just throwing it out there. People are built differently, but I mean, either way, I mean, it's still a good turning point for college football, I think. But moving on from that, I did see, I think you did an instant analysis video for the Iron Bowl. I think Alabama did better this year. I was very impressed.
I think Alabama is the best football team in the country.
Yes, sir. So what did you see, though? Was this just a good performance on Bama's part, or do you really think that Auburn really struggled in this game? Because I was looking at Bo Nix and everybody on Auburn like they can't get it together.
Well, I know the point spread was about 25 points. And I thought about it. Finally, as I typically do, will lean toward taking the points, especially when we're talking about a team that's one of the, regardless of what they're ranked, and I know they're 5-3 now, they're one of the 15 most talented teams in the country, and they're getting 25, 26 points. So I'm going to take that. And especially when you don't know how the game's going to be played in the fourth quarter, if it's a blowout. So anyway, I got to tell you, Auburn didn't play its best game. I can't think that they did. And Bo Nix, a lot of it was his fault, but a lot of it wasn't his fault. Auburn's offensive line was overmatched in that game. It's really a sore spot on that team. And I think that's really where they lost the game in a lot of areas, but that would be, in my eyes, the first place where they lost the game, is that they just couldn't match up across the front.
Right, like you just mentioned, like the O-line. I mean, Bo Nix, you can't place all the blame on him. I mean, quarterback needs protection, and Bama's defensive front put the pressure on Bo Nix better than they did probably on any other quarterback I've seen this year, honestly. And, he just looked lost and everything. But overall, as an Alabama fan, I'm happy. Obviously, a revenge game and everything. And it was just a heck of a game. I'm going to let you go, Mark. Appreciate you taking my call. Have a good night. And roll tide.
Thanks, Ballard. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. And again, I will get to this comment from Chuck C., giving me the benefit of the doubt. Thank you so much, Chuck. Again, I was not able to acknowledge his super chat from the last show. So thank you so much. Hi, Mark. Living about 15 minutes from the BYU campus. That would be fun. But conference games, I'm with Logan. There are plenty of reasonable Canes fans. Okay, meaning conference games. Okay, I know that to watch Miami play BYU or Cincinnati would be so much more entertaining. And from a college football playoff perspective, to be able to evaluate Cincinnati and BYU, forget Miami, because Miami's going to make the playoff. If they can get to the ACC championship game and win, they'll just go, or they won't go. That's all there is to it. They're not going to the playoff because they're not going to be able to get into the conference championship game. But if by some miracle Notre Dame caves in and Clemson or one of them, and they get into the conference title game, then Miami's just got to win it to get in. So they don't need BYU or Cincinnati from that standpoint. But in this particular season, especially to be able to evaluate Cincinnati or BYU against a capable team, a top 15 team, would be phenomenal. So that game would mean a lot to the playoff. But I also understand that the conferences are, first of all, in a compromised position from a scheduling standpoint to begin with. And then on top of that, there are games being canceled. So they are going to make a priority to schedule conference games. And I can support that. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark, it's Byrick.
Hey, Byrick.
I just wanted to comment on what Ballard was calling in and commenting on the Sarah Fuller making a kick for Vanderbilt and all that.
Sure.
I am all for females playing sports and high-level competitive sports and all that, but there is a reason that you don't see co-ed sports in high-level competition.
Sure.
It just causes issues. Like you said, there is a massive discretion between physical abilities and literally just anatomy.
Yep.
So there's a reason for it. I'm all for promoting that, but I don't want to sit here. I think it kind of gives a bad look. I think it was absolutely a publicity stunt that they were pulling, and I think that's what gave Mason the boot. There's no reason for that. I mean,
you said it extremely well.
Why?
And it shouldn't even be controversial for us to talk about it. It shouldn't be controversial for a man to say, I fully support. I have a daughter who, from the time she was like 4 or 5 years old, played soccer and then she actually played, quick story here, she was the last girl to be in her baseball league. So early on in baseball, T-ball, and then a coach pitch and so forth, they have boys and girls playing together. And then the girls kind of get weeded out because they either quit or they go start playing softball. Well, she kept playing baseball, and she was up to about, I forget, 9, 10 years old, and she was still playing baseball, and she was the only girl in the whole league. And she was still really good and able to compete, but you could tell they were starting to get a little too strong for her, but she was still fine. She basically quit and went to play softball because she knew that was the future. And she also knew, she got sick of sitting on the end of the bench and there just being a bunch of boys sitting there, and she didn't have girls to talk to. So
I'd sit here and say that probably gave her a leg up when she moved back over to softball.
Yeah, and she was really good.
A little bit more years playing in higher competition.
Yeah, and she played all the way through high school, and they went to the state championship game her final year in high school, and she had a very successful high school softball career. And I was always proud of her, and she did a phenomenal job. But, for example, I was asked a couple times, and then my son was playing sports at the same time, and he was 2 years older. And people would ask me, who's a better athlete? Who's a better athlete, my son or my daughter? And I'd say, well, what do you mean? Do you mean against their competition as a male or a female? And they would go, no, who's just a better athlete? And I'd say, my son's a better athlete. That's not taking away from my daughter. Against her peers, she might be better than he is against her peers.
Yeah.
But she's not a better athlete. She can't run as fast, or she's not as strong. And there's nothing wrong with that. Talking about that, it's just a fact of life. And there's tons of things that men can't do as well as women. So just there we go.
We're the first to admit that, right?
Absolutely. We should be if we know better. Yeah.
I just wanted to point that out. That's been something that's been on my mind, and I've been trying to get it out. It's like there is a reason why you don't see women playing professional football with all the men. If you literally just wanted to there would be so many issues within that locker room.
Yeah.
You couldn't even feasibly begin to argue, oh, well, she's a heck of an athlete. There would be so many issues. It would cause turmoil that you couldn't get I personally don't think you could get a good team atmosphere.
And that's
that high of a level.
And that's a great point. And that's another issue in it, that when you have one female, let's say she made the team out of camp, and she spent the entire season from from August or even going back to spring practice all the way through to January with the team. There have to be certain conditions made and stipulations about just changing in the locker room and being somewhere separate and all that. And there's just a dynamic there that's just different. And there's nothing wrong with it being different. Guys interact with guys differently than they should if there's a female present. And that's all understandable, and it's natural. It's a good thing that guys should act a little more respectful and not say certain things or do certain things in the presence of a female.
Yeah. That's just my entire point. I wanted to point that out. Clemson looked awesome against Pitt. So we'll let you go, Mark.
I appreciate it, Byrick. Have a good one.
Y'all have a good night. Bye.
Our man Byrick on the line. Absolutely, absolutely. See some names here that I haven't seen before. Sean Stapleton, Eric Huffman. Welcome to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Would love to know who you root for and how long you've been watching. And I am so far behind in the chat, about 25 minutes. Let's see if we can catch up here. Let me get the number up here. And we had a super chat contribution from Chuck. I want to remind everyone that these shows only survive because of your contributions. And also, hey, we want to get some sponsorships in here. There should be no reason why we can't get sponsorships. So we'll figure it out. And a number of you have been amazing to contact me and give me some suggestions on marketing, or maybe you could do this for sales or marketing or sponsorships. And so I appreciate that. Any of you, anytime, can contact me at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark, it's Dominic.
Hey, Dominic. What's up?
What's going on tonight?
Oh, just doing this little show here.
Yeah, I know. I've been watching it for pretty much the whole time.
Well, I appreciate that.
Anytime, Mark.
So what's going on tonight?
You know, just keeping check on all college football stuff, including the COVID pandemic with a college football team. I'm not sure which team it is. It's either Ohio State or could be Ohio State, but I'm not too sure.
Okay. Yes, we don't know if Ohio State's playing this weekend. They're scheduled to play Michigan State. I was told by one of our Ohio State beat writers, I forget which one, told me that they're going to make a decision on that. I think it's tomorrow. They're going to announce where they stand on that.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that, but I mean, you know, at least that's the news I recently have been keeping track of around college football. So, yeah, I mean, you know, things have been going pretty much good for college football, but we'll see how the rest of the season goes, Mark. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Dominic. All right. Anybody else? 860-325-3687. You see it on the call below. Miami live, Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. So we're coming back here Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time with our Miami live show. The Ohio State show will have to make an announcement on Wednesday because the guys that come on, Steve Hellwagon, Kevin Noon, and Tody Gerdeman, have obligations. So we're trying to figure out a time for Wednesday in Ohio State. We will be back here Wednesday night at 6 Eastern for Florida State, Seminoles Live, and SEC Live at 8 Eastern on Wednesday night. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hello, it's me, Roberto LeBron.
Hey, Roberto. How are you?
I'm doing great. I just hope that Ohio State can get things going for the next week's game or Saturday's game of Michigan State. But I'm concerned about what's going on at Ann Arbor. Another day the N word. But if they cancel the D game, what would that say about the rivalry in general from here on out? I don't know.
So you're saying if Michigan cancels in a similar way to what Florida State did against Clemson, where we know that they've met the stipulations, they've met the conference guidelines, and they can play, they just choose not to play.
Yeah, like that.
Well,
it's more strict than Big Ten, though.
I think it would be more embarrassing for Michigan not to play than to go out there and lose 72-10. To me, it would be for them not to choose to compete.
I mean, right? Isn't the biggest rivalry of all sports that they don't want to play it? I mean, I don't know, was that kind of our tradition or something, or not much?
Well, let's also understand that, to be fair, we have had Florida State cancel 2 games that they could have played. We've had Wisconsin cancel 2 games that they could have played. Wisconsin. So there has been precedent for this where schools have said, there's a risk there that's close to the standard or meeting that standard. And maybe in Wisconsin's case, as you well know, they were missing their top 3 quarterbacks. So they just didn't want to play and risk losing. Nobody said that, but that's what it came down to. So this has been done. They wouldn't be the first to do it.
Minnesota has how many people? 47 out. I mean, I understand why they had to opt out. They won't have a chance to. They won't have the chance to defend the Axe. Well, never mind. That's Wisconsin. I'm still here. Sorry. That was Wisconsin that dominated them last year before playing us in Indianapolis.
Yeah. But
I forgot what year they won it back.
Well, we also need to understand, if we want to look at this objectively, that Illinois did not get a chance to play Ohio State last weekend, and that was Ohio State's decision not to play Illinois.
And that was odd timing. It was going well, and then Friday night, when they were all the news feed. And all I was worried about was how many if they met over the percentages of 7.5 and 5%. We didn't get a chance to play for Illinois since forever. But it was Gene Smith's call, so.
Absolutely.
And that's all for me.
Anything else tonight?
I don't know, not really, but I saw I guess A&M LSU game. It was very sloppy, especially from LSU side. I think how many turnovers they threw, and A&M's offense did not get going. And after what Alabama did to Auburn, I don't know if they have any good resume boosting, anything to boost the resume much.
Texas A&M?
Yeah.
Well, depends on how good you think the SEC is. Texas A&M beat a top 5 team in the country, Florida. Other than that, who's their second best win? Texas A&M, probably. Well, they've got Auburn coming up this week, so of course that's a roughly top 25 win. I don't know if Auburn's going to stay in the rankings, but they were 22 last week.
I said their second best win could be Arkansas.
Yeah, probably Arkansas, Oregon, Auburn. Because if you look at the SEC, you've really only got you've got basically 3 of the top 5 or 6 teams in the country: Alabama, Florida, Texas A&M. Then after that, Auburn's the only team over 500. So it's a very top-heavy league.
Yeah, I guess I got nothing else. All right.
All right, Roberto. Thanks for the call, man.
You too.
All right. Hey, Raymond, thank you so much for the Super Chat contribution. It's much, much, much appreciated. Thank you so much for that. Got another one coming in as well. Appreciate you guys. Miami Flows in the house. Keep up the great work, Mark. I say this from time to time, and I hope you guys know it and appreciate it and believe it, that when you guys make encouraging comments, just keeps me going, keeps me going, keeps me going. So it's much appreciated. I can't respond to all the comments, so the comments come in every day, and YouTube used to tell us, it's crazy because with all the analytics on YouTube, YouTube tells we're called YouTube creators is what they call us. We get all these analytics, which is great. We just any possible metric that you could want to determine, who's watching, how long, all those things are provided by YouTube. But for some reason, they used to tell us how many people commented. So they would add up all the comments and you would know, okay, this month I got 247 comments. Then this month I got this many comments. And I got up to about 16,000 comments in a month, and I'm way past that now. So I hope all of you appreciate that I cannot get back to the comments. If I got back to the comments, then I couldn't be doing what I'm doing. But specifically to the top 25, everyone together, that actually makes sense. I have promised to get back to those comments. So I need to do that this week, and I will get back to those comments. But I can't get back to the comments. But I say that to let you know that when you leave an encouraging comment like Miami Flow did just there, that even though I can't get back to all of them and write something back, I appreciate that. It is read and appreciated, and thank you so much. And you don't know how far that goes. So thank you for that. And also Raymond, thank you so much chiming in. I guess now Michigan State only beats you if you are ranked top 15. Yeah, that must be the Michigan State thing this year. Michigan is a top 15 team that won its first game against Minnesota, and the Michigan State puts them down. And then here comes Northwestern, a top 10 team, and Michigan State hammers them. But then they get trucked by everybody else. Raymond, thank you so much for the contribution. It is much, much appreciated. Thank you so much. What do we have here? Okay. Auburn not ranked. We don't pay attention to those rankings under Hill Julian, by the way. They don't mean anything. But I know I did mention the rankings, so you are well within the bounds to mention that Auburn is not ranked, but don't look at the rankings. I know that they were the only reason I know what teams are ranked by the AP or the coaches poll is because in watching the games you see the ranking right next to their name. But I never go in and look at the AP or the coaches poll. Stopped doing that a long time ago. Stopped doing that a long time ago. All right. Anything else coming down that we need to address here? David, Mark, who would you take in the non-Power 5 championship game, BYU or Cincinnati? Cincinnati. I would take Cincinnati. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining tonight. We will be back tomorrow night, Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time. And I believe that because we're on here from 7 to 8 for Miami Live, that I'll just kind of stay on and carry you through the night from there. All right, so lock it in here. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please subscribe and we appreciate all the contributions. Smash that like button on the way out. See you soon.